Welcome to SuQuietSleep. I'm so glad you are here. Before we begin our tonight's story, find a comfortable position. Let your body settle into the surface beneath you. Your shoulders can soften now. If there is any tension in your jaw, let it release. Soften the small muscles around your eyes and brow. Let your hands rest gently and easily. If your eyes are not already closed, allow them to close now. Take a slow breath in through your nose, filling your lungs, and breathe out through your mouth. And again, breathe in and breathe out. Let your shoulders drop a little more and allow your whole body to grow heavier and supported. With each slow breath, the sounds of your day begin to fade slowly into the background. In their place, a gentle mist begins to rise. A quiet bridge between now and then. And as tonight's story begins, imagine yourself stepping lightly through the mist, leaving the present behind and drifting into another time. A slower, quieter world. Tonight, we step quietly into the Hanlin Academy, the Empire's inner literary office, deep within the palace compound in Chang'an, nearly 1,300 years ago, in the height of the Tang Dynasty. It is the hour before dawn. A light snow passes in the night. Winter. A young junior official enters through the palace gate. His lantern, the only warm light in the cold corridor. Before daylight has entered the capital Chang'an, the young junior official is already awake. His chamber is small. A narrow bed, a lacquer stool, a brazier, still holding the last warmth of coals from the night before. He dressed by lantern light, settling into the layered garments of a winter morning in palace service. Thick socks, a padded outer robe, a cord tied twice at the wrist,
When he opens the door, cold air meets him. Snow had passed lightly in the night. Now, only the thin, clean covering remains, resting lightly along the eaves. The Hanlin quarters lie deeper in the palace compound, where the corridors grow quieter. His footsteps are muffled. Timbers creak once and go still. Then silence. Above him, snow rests patiently on the grey palace roof tiles, white along the eave, still. Drafting chamber receive him with familiar order, long and narrow, with a writing table positioned near the lattice window and shelf of wrapped texts arranged along the wall. The stillness here feels complete, the kind that has gathered through many hours of no one entering. He removes the cloth cover from the table surface. He touches 2 fingers to the cold edge of the inkstone, a smooth black stone with a shallow well, as though greeting an old companion. Then pours water from the small flask into its hollow. On one tray lies paper, stacked and aligned, pale and waiting. On another rests the brush stand, the seal box, and a small flat weight. The paper holds the lantern glow, the way snow holds the light of a low sky, softly from within. He lights the lantern room fully. Soft amber light spills across the white paper, pushing back gently against the gray winter morning that presses at the window. Before him, on a simple wooden tray, lies the morning report. Early frost damage in the northern prefectures. Lower grain tallies. A quiet request for measured relief along the main transport roads. He lowers himself onto the cushion, letting out a slow breath. The first task is always the same. He lifts the inkstick and begins to circle it over the wet stone surface. The sound is soft and even, a low whisper of ink moving through water. Black gathers slowly in the well, then deepens near the center, turning from gray to deep brown to a rich settled black. He does not hurry this part. While his hand moves in a slow circle, his eyes rest on the report before him. When the ink has reached the right density, thick and still, but easily moving from the brush tip, he set the ink stick aside and warms his fingers above the brazier for a moment. Then he picks up the brush and makes a first note, a line about the frost timeline, a second note, the granary shortfall, a third line that tends towards what might be done and how much would be needed. Farther off, a court drum sounds the changing hour, muffled by distance and winter air. He dips the brush again. The lantern light rests on white hemp paper. The ink line is clean and dark. When enough notes have gathered, he rises and crosses to the shelf. The wrapped bundles are arranged by subject, each paper tag hanging straight from its cord. He finds what he wants without difficulty. Order responses to frost damage, examples of transport adjustment orders, winter grain accounting from earlier dynasty. He carries 3 bundles to the table and opens the first. The handwriting is clear and even, copied in a hand steadier than his own. Some lines are spare, one clause, then a seal. Others move in balanced pairs. The second echoing the first with a small note added at the end. He reads slowly, without marking. A phrase about timely relief, preventing large disorder. A phrase about preserving storehouses so spring planting is not interrupted. A careful line reminding officials to keep their records exact and measured, neither overstating laws nor concealing it. By now, daylight has entered the chamber, though weakly. The lantern still burns because winter sun in Chang'an does not yet reach far enough through the window to write by. He paused over one page. The sentence there is constructed with a particular balance. Two short clauses, then a longer one that gathers them. He does not copy it. He only lets its shape settle in his mind. The older academician arrives quietly. He hears the step first, unhurried and even, and then sees the senior man entering with sleeve folded, posture composed in the manner of someone who has spent many years among documents requiring exactness and calm. They exchange greetings softly. The young official presents the loose draft notes and indicates the report beside them. The older man takes the sheets and reads without comment, eyes moving down each line with practiced steadiness. At last, the senior rests one fingertip beside a phrase near the middle of the third page and is still for a moment. Then he looks up. A small nod. The young official nods in return. They walk beside each other without speaking much. The brush moves. The inkstone is warmed from a fresh grinding. That soft particular sound again. Black slowly deepening in the water. One line is set down. Then the next. By the time the first complete draft is finished, the morning feels less like arrival and more like middle. At midday, the work pauses briefly, and he steps into the covered corridor with a cup of hot tea held in both hands. The tea is made from compressed tea cake, a flat disc of dried and pressed leaf, softened in boiling water, plain and slightly roasted, common in the palace service halls. He drinks it without adding a pinch of salt. He stands near the railing and looks into the inner courtyard below. The cold has eased by a small degree. Snow at the eave edge has begun to release. dropping in slow intervals into the stone basin below. The warmth of the cup passes through his palms and then through his throat and chest. He finishes the cup. He stands one moment longer at the railing. Then he turns and returns to the chamber. The afternoon is given entirely to the fair copy. The path of the document is now clear. He selects a fresh sheet of white hemp paper and lays it before him on the table. The older academician sits to one side with the corrected draft at hand, ready to call out a line if needed. The brush descends. One character forms one line, then the next. He writes with a quiet wrist, slower breath, the full weight of his attention resting in the tip of the brush. Lantern light lies across the white paper, amber and even. He copies the formal opening, then the middle section concerning granary register and transport route adjustment, then the closing formula with its constraint and careful phrasing. No ink spreads. Nothing catches on the paper grain. Once the older academician speaks quietly, suggesting that a single character be given a little more space before the next line begins. The young official nods, set aside the sheet, and begins the line again on a fresh strip. The ink on the revised character settles in deeply, dark and certain. When the final line is drawn, the brush is set on the rest, and neither of them speaks for a moment. The completed copy lies flat on the table. The older academician stands beside the window where the last pale daylight gives the writing its clearest outline. His eyes travel the page from the top line downward in an unbroken motion. Title: Opening clause. The long central body. The closing seal space. At the end, he gives a single nod. The young junior official rolls the sheet carefully and slides it into its sleeve. A paper tube sealed with a cord and a small clay stamp, and place it on the shelf reserved for documents awaiting collection. The draft sheets are stacked, the brushes rinsed. He looks through the lattice towards the roof beyond. Snow still rests in narrow white bands along the ridge tiles, patient above the gray eave, and change through the whole long day. The sky has turned to thin winter gray above them. He remains still in that side for a while. In the evening, the document is carried onward by the collection attendant, and his part in the day comes quietly to an end. The young junior official chamber lies only a short walk from the drafting room. At this hour, the palace compound has entered its evening hush. A kettle warms near the brazier. Beside it, a small bowl of plain porridge. Soft cooked rice with a little salt, and a dish of pickled greens. Their scent, faint and sharp, a quiet contrast to the warmth. He removes his outer robe and folds it across the stool. He sits near the heat and eats slowly. A cold shifts and settles inward. Steam rises from the cup. The evening keeps its quiet order. Night gathers early in winter. The lantern has been trimmed to a lower flame. Its amber light rests in a smaller circle now, touching the rim of the teacup and a quiet grain of the wooden table. Beyond that circle, the room eases into shadow. He pours one last cup and holds it near the warmth of the brazier coals. Nothing more is expected of him. From somewhere far across the compound, a bell sounds once, low and hurried. He sits with both hands around the warm cup and listens until the sound has finished. The room is warm enough now. the brazier gave its last steady heat. Through the lattice, the night is still and dark. Snow on the palace roof tiles, patient above the eave, and change through the whole of this long winter day. He thinks of the ink grinding this morning, its soft, circular sound, black, slowly deepening in water. The fast brush stroke, the fast line settling into the white hemp paper, the lantern amber light resting on the clean page, waiting. He thinks of the archive bundles he read, their careful writing and measured lines. The older academician quiet nod. The day had no greatness in it, only quiet order, only care applied in small measures to a matter that needed it. Snow rests on the roof tiles, white above the eave. The lantern bends softly. The tea cools slowly. And so the young junior official of the Hanlin Academy sits in the lamplight. The evening complete around him. The ink dry and the document sent onwards. The brushes clean. The snow resting above in its patient way. He puts down the cup. He lowers the lantern flame until only a faint amber glow remains. The winter quiet keeps the rest.
The world we visited tonight is quiet now. And you are here again, in the comfort of your room. Your mind can rest. Your body can relax. If you are already drifting into sleep, allow yourself to sink deeper. If you are still awake, simply listen to the quiet. Thank you for joining me at SuQuietSleep. I'll be here again soon to share another peaceful moment in time. But for now, sleep well. Good night.